Week 1, Tonto's Demise, week in review. I'll keep this one as short as I can. Every video from last year and podcast so far this year seems to run a little bit longer than people like. So try to remedy that this year. Keep it short and sweet. Let's get right to it. First, we got to go with the defending champ, the Rook, who is going up against Brian, the Detonators. And the Detonators easily took this one down, 177.75 to 119.5. Rook, you took 4 running backs with your first 4 picks. This year, they combined to get you about 15 or 16 points in week 1. Plus, Ray Rice is probably going to jail and no longer in the league at all, so that's not good news for you. Like I said, those 4 running backs, you probably should have complimented Julian Edelman, at least with some other wide receiver. What you got this week, was probably about Edelman's ceiling. He's going to get you 6 to 8 catches, maybe 100 yards, maybe a touchdown. If you're lucky, he's pretty consistent on that point. But as for Brian, he got pretty consistent scores up and down his roster. And not much from Phillip Rivers last night. Not much, like I said, not much from your running backs. Decent games from your receivers, and the much discussed St. Louis Rams defense doing very little to nothing for you. So the Detonators start out strong. Possibly are they reversing the curse? I don't know. It's only 1 week, but Brian starts with a win over the defending champ. And also the Rook, defending champ, you are also with the 119.5 score. You are the first to be eliminated from the knockout pool. So sorry about that. Next we had my team, the Springfield Isotopes, going against the Commish, the New Gods, Mad Titans. Commish versus Co-Commish, head-to-head. This one came all the way down to the last couple minutes of the Monday night Arizona game. Isotopes were down about 46. Matthew Stafford got 61 to give me about a 15-point cushion. And unfortunately, the Arizona defense was able to hold on at the end. Phillip Rivers botched that snap and took the Chargers out of field goal range. Would have gotten them enough points, enough first downs, enough yardage and everything to knock Arizona down and keep a win for me. But then unfortunately Arizona went down and took the lead, and San Diego was not able to get it back, and Jimmy was able to just squeeze out enough points from the Arizona defense to come back and take this one down. As we mentioned before, everybody was pretty surprised by Devontae Freeman being taken so early and plugged into the starting lineup. That could turn out to be a good move, maybe in about 5 or 6 weeks from now, but not so much immediately. And you've got Forte and Giovanni Bernard not getting Bernard's receiving points. I think you lost 12 points there. But the good news is Matt Forte, who you got at, pick 8 or 9, outscored Jamal Charles almost 4-1. 7 points from the number 2 pick, Jamal Charles. I can thank Andy Reid for that, I guess. But not much you can do. Good scores up and down. Andrew Luck, 66 points. Zach Ertz, a good game. Forte, like I said, good game. Antonio Brown. This one actually, I am pretty upset because I would have won this matchup if Antonio Brown had actually dodged the punter and returned his kick, excuse me, for a touchdown instead of trying to jump over the punter and ended up kicking him in the face. As I think everyone knows about that by now, the internet, it set the internet on fire with memes and stuff like that. So those 9 points that he would have gotten for the touchdown and it being a long touchdown would have won me the game. But I guess instead we are left with this highly memorable kick in the face video. The score on that was 169.9 to 163.7. Next, we had last year's regular season champion, Possum Magic, going up against Nick Foley and Dynamite. And Nick Foley was able to pull this one out, 163.2 to 140.65. Looks like Nick Foles and Peyton Manning actually scored almost exactly the same. Solid scores up Jim's from his wide receiving core. Unfortunately, Bernard Pierce scored him negative points, but he got decent games from Jennings, Graham, Gronk. Denver defense did okay, but it was enough to pull this one out because Larry Fitzgerald did very little. Keenan Allen, not much at all. Sean Green, not much. The tight end you really kind of probably reached on, Richard Rodgers, got hurt, scored you a 0. And the Kansas City Chiefs defense, the Chiefs just got completely dominated somehow by the Tennessee Titans. Didn't do too much for you. The good news was Kelvin Benjamin, I believe, did he score 2 touchdowns or at least 1? Did pretty good. It was Mark Ingram that scored. Mark Ingram scores 2 touchdowns for you. That's probably not going to happen every week, but it was a down game for a lot of your players, and just not much you can do about that. But it's only 1 week, week 1, so don't get too down. We can't all win every week, although some of us think that we should. Next we had the previously named CJ Built-A-Spiller going up against McCoy's homeboys. McCoy, you drafted LaShawn number 1 overall. Then you went on to draft Arian Foster and Pierre Thomas, which isn't a bad idea. They're all strong running backs. But that leaves you with a lot of points being left behind because you're not flexing McCoy or Arian Foster. You're pretty much stuck with Pierre Thomas there because that's where most of his value is going to come from. Unfortunately, in this one, it was Tony Romo versus the San Francisco defense. And I'd have to say that the San Francisco defense definitely won this matchup. If you saw the game, as I did, it was pretty sad. I believe San Francisco's defense actually did outscore Tony Romo in our league, which does not bode well for your possibility of winning. Even though Tom Brady didn't do too much. Calvin Johnson obviously went off on Monday night, scored Detling 41 points. Randall Cobb did good and got a touchdown. Matthews got a touchdown. And Le'Veon Bell, obviously, I think he had almost 200 yards total. Touchdown. Ended up with about 35 points for you, which was enough thanks to Megatron and basically thanks to players that I had last year. leading the now named Huber Slayers to victory and the highest score of the week of 206.95. McCoy's Homeboys had 165.45. So that pretty much sums that one up. So not a bad score for McCoy's Homeboys, but you're going to need Tony Romo to do a little bit better than 32 points a week. Other than that, I wouldn't be too worried because your lineup is still pretty good. Let's see. Speaking of high scores, it looked like FC Bohoric was going to win that one this week, but he Detling was able to just pull ahead of him on Monday night. FC went up against You My Puddin', the number 2 second place finisher of last year. Falls again in week 1. FC Bohoric 205.1 to 173.25. So that means the top 3 finishers from last year, which were Gags, Jeff, and Tree, all lost this week. The bottom finishers from last year all won in week 1. So I don't know if we're becoming more like the NFL with parity or what's going on. But the competitiveness must be getting better as the years go by. We're getting more competitive, which is good. It's good. It's not a couple people dominating every year. But anyway, I digress. FC Bohoric, he's got the dreaded Matt Ryan to Julio Jones combination, which worked out pretty well in week 1, seeing as how they had a shootout against the Saints. Looks like that combination got you about almost 90 points just from those two. Good game from Nelson, good game from Wayne, good game from Lynch, good game from Patterson. Chris Johnson even got you a touchdown somewhere in there. Your trend of picking defenses poorly continues as the Tampa Bay cost you some points there. Jordan Reed, I think, got hurt. He didn't get you too much, but it was enough to put you over the 200-point barrier, which is going to pretty much guarantee you a win 95 to 99% of the time. When somebody scores over 200 against you, Jeff, don't feel too bad because that's not going to happen every week, and you're probably not going to win. It's just pure bad luck. Even though Andre Ellington, unfortunately, he didn't play until the late Monday night game, and he wasn't announced that he was actually playing until almost game time, so you weren't able to plug him in. You still would not have won, but it would have helped. Jay Cutler actually did pretty good, almost got you 60 points. AJ Green, 28 points, I think, thanks to that long touchdown at the end of the game. I don't know how AJ Green managed to slip all the way down to the 12th or 13th pick of the draft. I don't know, he seems to slide a lot further than he should every year. But, let's see, Michael Floyd did pretty good. Would have helped if he had gotten you a touchdown, but he did not. Vernon Davis, couple touchdowns. Frank Gore, not too much. And so the interesting thing here is you've got Crabtree, Frank Gore, and Vernon Davis, so you're riding pretty high on the San Francisco 49ers from week to week. Victor Cruz didn't do too much, dropped a couple passes. Just hasn't looked like himself the past year or two. Hopefully for you, he can turn that around. Jets D did okay. Got some points for you against the rookie quarterback from Oakland. So, like I said, you got 173, pretty good score. But this week, not quite enough. Last matchup, we had the Demise Hooligans going up against well, it's currently named Eileen's Haircut, formerly TNT Blow. But as far as I'm concerned, you are only the only team name that I will acknowledge for you. Hopefully, you'll change it. Is the Twerkin' Bowl Cuts. Twerkin' Bowl Cuts took this one down 198.05 to 164.15. Andy Dalton, Jeremy Macklin both got you bonus points for long touchdowns. They did pretty good. Golden Tate looks like he's going to be a solid PPR option opposite Calvin Johnson. Adrian Peterson didn't do too much, but it was definitely the Monty Ball Julius Thomas combo that helped you out. 3 touchdowns for Thomas, I think at least 1 for Ball. That was pretty good. CJ Spiller in your flex actually did pretty good for you, 15 points. And of course, the Seattle Seahawks defense is going to be a strong play every single week. They looked pretty good against the Green Bay Packers. So if they can do that against Green Bay, they can probably do that against most anyone. So they're a defense that no one's going to want to have to go up against every week. So we'll see what happens. As for Dub C, like I said, he unfortunately had Aaron Rodgers going against the Seattle Seahawks defense. You're not going to get 33 points for Aaron Rodgers. Is going to be, that's probably about his floor, one of the lowest scores you're going to get from him. You got good numbers from your, good numbers from your receivers, but very little from your running backs. Not much from Jordan Cameron, even though DeMarco Murray actually did pretty good. The Lions defense looked all right. Not huge scores, but it's that low quarterback score and not a great defensive score that's going to hold you back. But like I said, the Twerkin' Bowl Cuts just missed the 200-point barrier. So when you go up against that, the chances of you winning are very slim, but not impossible. But there's nothing you can really do. It's just bad luck, and you gotta let that week go and move on and keep fighting. So that's pretty much it for week 1. Week 2 looks like it's going to be interesting. We have some good matchups, some tough games, I think. Fantasy-wise, there's tough matchups. Like I said, talking about the scoring being very, the league being competitive again this year. We had more than half the league score between 163 and 177. We had 7 teams score just within that window, that 14-point window. 2 teams go over 200, obviously. The Rook just barely over 120. Twerkin' Bowl Cuts just missed 200. So a couple of big weeks, but for a couple, which is going to happen. Everybody's going to have, at least 1 or 2 teams are going to have a big week. 1 or 2 teams are going to have a bad week. But interesting to note, I think, that, like I said, 7 people were all within a 14-point total of each other. So if you mix up the matchups and things have gone a little bit different, the standings would look a lot different. But so it's going to be a competitive season, I think, which is good. It's going to be fun to watch. All right, like I said, the Rook is the first team eliminated from the knockout pool. And I see I've dragged this on to 20 minutes now, so I'll get going. Good luck to everyone here in week 2, but mostly good luck to me, the Isotopes.